Welcome back to Bible Club. This week we're going to continue our series, Staying Cool for Jesus. Now last week we learned how we can be kind to one another, and it was really laid back, and we're sitting at the beach. Well, this week we're going to learn a story out of the Bible. Actually, we're going to learn about a person out of the Bible who was really cool in times of trouble. In fact, he and his friends stayed cool when things were really, really hard. Can you guess who it is? He's in the Old Testament. He has three friends with him that really stayed cool in times of struggle and when it was really hard. It's Daniel. Daniel and his friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Think about that. We know that story, the fiery furnace, right? And how they refused to bow down and worship the king Nebuchadnezzar because they only worshiped God. And then King Nebuchadnezzar said, well, I'm going to throw you in this fiery furnace. And we know the story, how the story goes. They get thrown into the fiery furnace, but guess what? They didn't get burned up because as the king, he looked into the fiery furnace, he says, there's 4 people in there. The other person was Jesus. They were staying cool with Jesus. They were staying cool for Jesus in times of struggle. But did you know that Daniel, there's so many other times in the book of Daniel in the Old Testament where he stayed cool. We know a time when, of course, he didn't bow down. And then we also know a time when he was surrounded by these lions. He was thrown into the lion's den. We know that story from when we were young. He's thrown into the lion's den. And he stayed overnight with lions, and God protected him, and he stayed cool. He stayed cool for Jesus. He stayed cool for God because he knew God would be with him during those trials. Now, here's another story. Maybe you haven't heard of too well, but the king had all this food prepared, and the king had this diet that everybody had to eat, but Daniel wouldn't eat that. He wouldn't eat the diet. He said, God's going to take care of us. And in fact, he went to the king and he said, hey, king, listen, if I'm not healthy after all this stuff, then I will eat what you eat, but I know God's going to provide, and I'm going to eat what God tells me to eat. So time goes on, and guess what? He wasn't sick. In fact, he was healthy. And today we call it the Daniel diet. But really, it's God's diet. So when you're feeling, tired, or when you're feeling hot or upset or something's going on in your life, you know what you could do? You could trust Jesus. You can trust God to be with you in times of struggle. And you can stay cool for Jesus. Now, we went really quick through all of this. We went really quick basically through the book of Daniel where we talked about all this stuff going on. But a cool thing happened. Daniel, in his relationship with the king, his name's Nebuchadnezzar, was a roller coaster, basically. And eventually Nebuchadnezzar came to know who God is. Isn't that great? Now imagine if Daniel didn't stay cool. Imagine if Daniel didn't really, trust God and caved in, then who knows what happened with King Nebuchadnezzar. See, we can stay cool for God. And when we stay cool for God, other people will look and say, wow, look at them. They love God. I want that relationship with Jesus as well. See, we can share the gospel through how we act. We can share the gospel through the way we deal with different situations. So you see behind me, we're back at the beach because the rest of the day it's going to be hot again today. But guess what? We're going to stay cool for Jesus. Before we go, I want to give you an update for our virtual VBS Incrediworld. It was going to be July 13th through the 15th, but we had to change the dates. It's now going to be July 27th through the 29th. This is great news though, because it gives you more time to register to get a VBS care package, and we'll deliver it to you that Sunday on July 26th, or you can pick it up at the church on July 26th. You can get more information on our website, which I will pop up right here, www.communityadventchristian.org.
Until then, I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next week.